Recording.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is John Keplinger, and I am one of the SCORE volunteers for SCORE of Southwest Michigan. We are a national organization and a subdivision, really, and partner of the Small Business Association. We provide free help and mentoring for small and aspiring business owners. And we cover, as I mentioned, the Southwest Michigan area. The title of our webinar today is How to Write Effective Marketing Emails for Any Situation. We are recording this presentation. It takes a day or so for us to compile it and put a link together, but within the next day or so, you will get an email to this recording, so you'll have an opportunity to look at it again.
You might want to close this window.
We are unable to hear you because we've muted all of your microphones. However, we will be taking your questions either through the chat function or in the Q&A function. About 25 minutes or so from now, Cheri will take a pause and we'll see if there's any questions that have come up by then. And then at 5 o'clock or so, we will do a wrap up, answer any additional questions, and hopefully close out at 5:15. So I'd like to introduce Cheri Bales. Cheri has been a SCORE mentor since 2017. She's the owner of Hannah Gold Communications that has been in business since 1991. Her marketing expertise reaches far and wide, and today she's going to speak to you about how to write an effective marketing email. With that, I'll turn it over to Cheri.
Hey, John. Hey, everybody. Thanks for signing on today. I'm at a new location for this, so I'm going to try my best to keep the signal and not get rained on. I'm actually sitting outside the lobby. I had intended to be in a lobby, but there are too many people there. So here we are, and we are here today to talk about how to write effective marketing emails for any situation. And I do see this as a booming topic, John. We might want to do another workshop yet on this. But before we go too far, this is me, as John said, Cheri Bales. I'm a marketing strategist with my own company, Hannah Gold Communications. I'm also a certified mentor, and I am the marketing chair for SCORE Kalamazoo, Southwest Michigan. And I have a presence on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect with me. It's just Cheri Bales.
Excuse me, Cheri.
Yes.
Were you on your second slide?
Yes.
It's not showing up.
Did that not go? All right, no. Let's do it a different way. There's always another way to do it. Now? Anything? John, where'd you go?
Yeah, it's working now.
Oh, thanks so much. Okay, here we go. So what we're here to talk about is email marketing. And as you probably know, there's a lot of competition in the inbox for your email message. And I just actually was looking at some statistics that came up and noticed that the average number of emails that will be sent this year is somewhere around 306 billion. So, you know, there's certainly a lot of competition. Back in 2016, it was right around 205 billion. But we're talking about this today because your emails need to be able to compete with all the noise, and you want to be able to write emails that provide value to your audience, okay? So they actually open them. Many people just seem to ignore the emails if there's just not anything of interest for them there, and that's what we want to help you avoid. 306.4 billion emails every day by the end of 2020. That's a lot, but you're gonna have to compete with that, you know you are. So writing an email can seem very daunting. It can be overwhelming because I don't know what to write. I don't have the software. I don't have any pictures. I don't know, how to actually even get started. But I have some news here that will help you. We're going to talk about what to send, how to write it, and even if you're not a good writer, how to write it, how to do it quickly, and how to tell stories and caption and title your emails in a way that builds a connection with your customers. You know, no matter what you feel when you sit down to write the email, I'm going to help you figure it out right here. So that's why we put this together. So that you can break through that barrier, you compete in the inbox, and hopefully today we'll learn to make that a little bit easier for you. So the agenda, you probably already saw this in the promo for the webinar. We're going to look at the different types of emails out there. You'll be really surprised because most people, you say email, picture a newsletter, right? Well, that's sort of, but there's a whole lot more that you can do beyond just a newsletter. We're going to talk about a simple formula for any email that allows you to just plug in the pieces to have a best practices successful email. And we'll talk about some more tips for writing your emails and what you need to have in there. So here's a couple of examples, and these are both local. I love Colors and Cocktails. She's one of our best, not best, one of our brightest moving clients who basically came in and followed the SCORE path through. And this is an example of one of her emails based on what she learned from SCORE and what she was able to put together in, I believe she uses Constant Contact, which is nice because SCORE is a partner. So we do like to ask our clients if they would like to use it. The second one is just an informational email, okay? It's not really meant to do anything other than sit there and be read. So kind of, I hate to say this, SCORE, but which one would you like to open? But there are purposes for that. You can see this one is time-based, the chalk your walk. And as I said, that one was informational. I get this question a lot. When should I send? How often? What time of day? So think about when you signed up for emails. What did you sign up for, I guess? What did you expect was going to come about? Did you expect to get a daily digest? Did they allow you to choose whether you wanted weekly updates, whether you wanted 0 emails from them? Ask your clients, ask your prospects list. If you're sending too much, people will probably start to unsubscribe. Point blank, that's what will happen. So if you sign up to be emailed twice a month, how often are you expecting me to email you? Twice a month. So you can make that clear. It's what you set up as an expectation with your subscribers. If you're doing a monthly newsletter, call it a monthly news and do it monthly. If you can't, then don't give it that name. And a lot of times you'll deviate from those expectations that you have set for what your newsletter should be, because things will come up, special circumstances, COVID updates, hiring. We're having a birthday party that's going out for a client over Constant Contact in an email. So this lets people know a little bit more, or even where to go to look for more information. So you might say, click on this link to find out more on a topic. So when they click there, they automatically begin to get emails encouraging them to take further action. So, all right, for in this example, I don't have an example there. There's not a one size, but if you are looking for a minimum, bare minimum, I mean, it might be difficult to make, but let's shoot for once a month. Let's really shoot for once a month. And now that I've said a newsletter doesn't have to be a 12-page scrolling tome of an annual report every time you do this, all we need to do is email enough and market through email to keep our businesses top of mind so people don't forget. 60% of people prefer to receive emails from brands at least weekly. That might be a little bit much for the service industries like mine, but for a restaurant, not at all a problem. I have a restaurant that has 2 emails scheduled to go out this week, one to a segmented audience for their beer club, and one to their entire audience for their birthday party, I think it is. So the question, how often should I send, is really specific to your business, the goals, if you have short-term, long-term goals, whatever they are, and the expectations that you set with your subscribers. All right, so that's some of the high-level questions. Let's talk about the different types of emails. And then we'll tell you about these other 2 things. This is our agenda, simple formula, more tips. All right, here are, and each slide's going to tell you what type of promotion or what type of email this is. So I want you to be able to make the connection here. So this is a fairly common email, e-blast, you can call it what you want, promotion, which is offers and promotions, and they're pretty straightforward. You know, you can click here and enter a coupon code, and you're going to save 20%. Here you're looking at $10,000 goal achieved. Do you want to book a consultation with this person? And here we always love our nonprofit clients who are jumping on these calls wherever you're coming from. So here you're actually asking people for money. So these are called offers and promotions. Now, good rule of thumb for social media or any kind of marketing is the 80-20 rule, which really says 80% of the time what you're telling your clients and your customers should be informational, educational, and should really help them learn more. 20% of the time, hence the 80-20 rule, can be devoted to advertising, coupons, discounts, promoting a product. You can give a resource, a free resource. So I like that they have these buttons on here, which are referred to as a call to action. And if you've been on any of my webinars before, I've beat this horse to death. If you don't ask me to do something, if you've made an offer and you don't ask me to use a code, book a consultation, or donate now, then you haven't really set up an offer and promotion. So make sure you include instructions to redeem it, to download it, to click through to the next page, or whatever you need to do to actually make your reader take action. Thanks.
Hey, Cheri.
Another type of event or a type of email. Yes, sir.
I noticed that you are in your presenters mode with your notes, and it makes it a little bit more difficult to see some of those slides. Let's see if you can get it back to one.
Well, you told me you couldn't see that.
I know.
Thanks, John.
There we go. That's much better. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Oh, now I have to remember where I was in the stream. I'm sorry. All right. So types of emails, events. This is an example of a carnival that's coming up. And not only does it have a button here for more info, but it has a button over here for get tickets for either Saturday or Sunday. So this guy has this email has 3 calls to action in it, which I really, really like. So all of you receive an event email inviting you to this webinar, right? And then you could receive through the event platform an invitation even. You can save the dates, you can send reminders like I do with this email, with this webinar. And you can follow up. So after a lot of our programmings, we'll send out follow-up materials for people who did not receive them or are interested in more details and so forth. So events is another type of email. Think about holidays, and I don't mean hashtag holidays or Twitter holidays. I mean thinking about formal holidays. This company, this Vineyard Boutique, is just giving you some information about what goes well with turkey and with ham. Not just giving you information, but then offering you the chance to shop now. Fun holidays, Twitter holidays, hashtag holidays. If you're a donut store, then yes, celebrate National Donut Day. If you're a hot dog store, ditto. If you are a nonprofit, National Giving Tuesday, yes to all those. But in order to keep your folks really paying attention, you don't want to kill them with every single holiday that comes out. So think about more formal days like Valentine's Day. And I think, John, I've got a link for you there about some Constant Contact industry specific templates that you can take a look at. They have some email campaign ideas. We'll have John drop that in the links box for you. So in the chat box for you so that you can check that link out later. So that's kind of handy. They put together a lot of nice templates for you. Information and education, how to. This is 80% of your content, but it's really going to vary based on whatever type of business or organization you have. Basically, what you want to do in these types of emails is give people helpful information that helps them get started, maintain, or more effectively use your products or services. So here is Half Moon Yoga Studio, which is promoting a healthy smoothie recipe. And that's just them being nice and helping out their followers. So things like videos, DIY, checklists, all of those can work really well for you. And if you don't really have how-to things, you're not an organization that has a how-to, think about things that might interest your readers that are how-to by some of your partners, and maybe work with a restaurant, for example, on recipes, or even kitchen design or organizational tips for kitchens. Just anything that we can do to inform and educate. If you're a nonprofit, you could give some tips on parenting, parenting during COVID, spending quality family time with your children. All of those can fall into that informational and educational category. So email marketing, even though it seems like it would be one-way communication, I'm just sending it out there and the world is receiving it, is actually a two-way communication. And that's why this type of email, create a dialogue, is important. A lot of times we don't ask for reviews. I mean, I could say raise your hand, but I can't see you. When was the last time you asked your clients or anyone for a review? So you can use an email blast. You can create this. You can have people click on a link that takes you right to Google reviews, if that's where you want to send them, or Yelp or TripAdvisor or LinkedIn. And what they found is that people tend to click those links and go do those reviews if they are invited in a way like this. You can understand your customer needs and preferences. When you start a business, part of your exercises are to develop a target audience. And that target audience is determined by your primary customers, you know, who you really want to serve. And, you know, what better way to understand what your audience wants from than to ask them. And Constant Contact has actually implemented a survey tool, which is kind of cool. So one of the things we would do with SCORE is ask our audience what time of the day, what day of the week, what hours of the day work best for you for webinars. Which of these topics are you most interested in? Which do you feel could benefit from? And we just really pick their brains because we want to understand our customer needs. The other way that you can create a dialogue is to obtain feedback. Ask people to respond. Here you can select your cinnamon roll flavors. You can select all of your different flavors. There's just all kinds of ways that you can talk to people and help them talk back to you through email type. And it shows them that you care a little bit and that you're interested in them. You've actually asked for their opinion. That feels pretty good. Just a couple more done and then we'll take some questions. So this is a good one, nonprofits particularly, but I think just about any, still got me there? I lost the internet, it looked like. I think about any business can benefit from a behind the scenes kind of post, especially right now. So I have a restaurant client, a couple of restaurants, and what's really tracking great on their social media right now is pictures of their staff wearing the PPE and their social distancing and, you know, the behind the scenes, how they've got the kitchen set up even so you can see what they're doing, how you make products. There's who the newest employee of the month is, or meet our care providers, or just get the feeling here that these aren't really long and involved emails, but they're still going to do the trick. They're still going to get your brand, your name, your nonprofit, your business in front of the audience. And this isn't going to take you, well, a newsletter. I've probably done hundreds and hundreds of print newsletters from 2 pages to 100 pages, but this isn't going to take you 15 hours to do. All right, other types of email: news, right? So I often will get information and send it to people that I'm sharing from the SBA. We are a partner for the SBA, the Small Business Administration. So when they come up with a new PPP funding and a new EIDL funding, those are things that I share in my email from SCORE to the people who follow SCORE. And there's just a lot you can put here. This is just a really friendly, hey, it's us. How is it? Good to see you. Snow's still coming. Good thing we're still here. It's got a little call to action in there. Get any burrito. And they may actually get some traffic from that. We don't know, but it's kind of nice to see, you know, business, local business being supported, and presenting local happenings on your emails. I think we sometimes might get too far away. I know I get mired down. Finally, newsletters. Okay, here's the 12 scroll newsletter that we're all used to, but we're getting it down to 3 or 4 scrolls. Let me tell you a couple things before I show it to you, and then we'll be stopping for some questions. So typically, we recommend putting one topic in your newsletter. I'm gonna let that sink in for a second. One topic in your newsletter. So remember, this is not your annual report. This is not your update of every single department in the business or in the industry. 3 topics at most, and I'll show you what those look like. And the way you keep it short is by using what's called a read more link. So you know all those little buttons we've been seeing, and I've said they're calls to action. Those buttons can be read more to take people to the full story somewhere else, ideally on your blog site or on your web page somewhere. Okay, so we've got the segment your list when possible. Oh, come on. Oh, I don't like to work in this mode. I'm so sorry. I'll explain it to you. I have a terrible Wi-Fi connection today. I'm really sorry. So in an email, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna show it to you this way. It's not gonna look good, but I want you to see it. So here's our 3 topic email. So we start everything with a header, with a logo. We've got a headline. We've always got a headline. They tell a little bit of the story, and then they say, read more. Okay, here's another one for the same newsletter. Volunteering and benefits. Here's read more. Now that's not this page. That is not the giving tree that they are sending you to. They are sending you to helpguide.org, which is a respected source for their news, I would say. And then finally, there is a Meet Alex, and this is just the employee profile perhaps. And again, the place to have these reside is on your website because it helps in a lot of ways. It adds a lot of content to your audience as well. Oh, now you want to run. Well, you couldn't have seen it that good anyway. So segmenting means you're only sending emails to the people who care about that subject. So not everyone is getting a beer club invitation to a bunch of specials for a birthday for the restaurant. Only the beer club members are getting the invitations. And that is where we can stop for a couple questions, John. I'm going to go back to this so you know I'm still here. I'm just going to pause that for a minute.
Thank you, Cheri. So far, we don't have any additional questions that have come up. One thing that I mentioned earlier, in the chat box, we've had a few technical glitches because we've changed the location of where we're doing this. One of the glitches, Cheri,
yes,
is I didn't receive those links that I was going to post in the chat room.
Oh, all right. I will send them in the follow-up then.
All right.
I would be happy to do that. We are really taking it on as we go here. And now I can't find my list of questions, but I do remember what a lot of them were. So I'll try to touch back on that.
I do have one that just came in.
Oh, good.
And the question is, how can a person display a video in the email message?
Right now, I don't think that's possible in Constant Contact. You can display a GIF, which is just a teeny tiny little video, but you would have to link it and have it hosted somewhere else. But you could certainly put a button that you can take a GIF or a screenshot of the video put that in, and then put a button with a call to action that says watch more or see video, something like that. So that could work.
All right. And that so far is the only question we have. I'll just continue to remind people as we progress. Jot down a question, put it in the Q&A section and or in the chat area, and we'll make sure to capture those as we go along. So
Good. Oh, I
we'll
love
turn it
this.
back over to you, Cheri.
Great. There's this one, a couple here. There's a question from Kelly, from Tiana, I'm sorry. Is there a formula for structuring an email? Yes, there is, and we're going to show you that. We're going to talk, Thomas wants to know how to write effectively for this, so we'll talk about that. Here's a quick question. Is printing/mailed U.S. Post Office advertising coming back? Cheri, it never went away. It's always been a good resource for revenue and for generating leads. You typically get about a 3% return on a direct mail piece. And, you know, depending on what your product margins are, that might definitely work for you. So it's not something that you should write off. No, in no way is it. It's still alive and kicking. And you know, right now, it's funny because we just had this conversation, and I said, well, I'd much rather get email. And my friends were like, no, I want to get mail. I get excited when I get mail. So pandemic marketing, lesson number 273, people are enjoying getting mail these days. Okay, let's move on. So with all those types of emails, Constant Contact also gives you the opportunity to schedule some automated emails if you are an email client with them. So you could, for example, have a welcome email. So on your website or on your Etsy page or on your Pinterest or wherever you happen to have it, you have a link for them to sign up for your emails. And it can say, you know, sign up for our newsletter. It can say, learn more about us. It can say anything you want, basically. But you have that opportunity to then have that generate, this pretty email generate to them automatically when they sign up. So now you have a two-way conversation going. They've got a coupon here, and they click on the shop now, and they are good to go. Here's another one, the anniversary. It could be, this looks like anniversary of a home purchase. Could be anniversary of your donation. How many times do you get a thank you letter a year after you made a donation? Not really asking for a donation, but just reminding you that, hey, it was a year ago, and you know, here's what we did with your donation. So you can schedule those to go out. And of course, you know, the potential, or they always wonderful birthday email. Bring this in. As long as it's on a mobile device, I think you'd be okay. I don't like asking people to print things and bring them in. But there's another automated email that just automatically, obviously automatically, will go on out to your followers when and if and how you schedule it to go. So keep in mind how important it is if you are a business or a service industry or lawn care service, home care service, basically any kind of an organization at all can benefit from these emails. And Constant Contact actually has those automated emails now added in. All right, here we go. Different. Now we're on simple. Here's the formula that I just mentioned. 20 lines of text or 200 words. That's not a lot. Most of my former employers could not write to 300 words, let alone 200. But this is what we are reading now. So these are short and sweet, and the formula is going to be explained to you. Logo, picture, headline, offer, call to action, contact, social. But this is the size you're looking for, not that big, long. You could do 2 or 3 in there. Hello, puppy. What should be in your email? Here it is. That's all there is to it. The picture, put your logo up here. The picture that you're promoting, whether it's food service, whatever it is, the title, the offer, and the button that allows you to make a call to action. That's it. It can be that simple. It could be that simple. So let's talk a little bit about what to say and how to say it, because I get this question a lot and it is tough. It's very tough for people to come up with cool stuff to say. So they put together some tips for us here for profit and nonprofit. When you're writing your newsletter, these are the spaces you're going to fill in. What are you offering? So tell them right away in that headline, what's this about? Is it a birthday celebration? Is it a 20% off coupon? Is it a grand opening? Is it a brand new donations campaign you're undertaking? What is it? That's designed based on years and years and years of reader eye movement research. Believe it or not, there's a thing that says this is the first thing people are going to look at when they open your email. They might scan your logo, but they're going to see that first. Then in the paragraph, you're telling people how it will help them. What need are you satisfying? All right, so first of all, our offering is streamlining your website for you. Oh, how are you going to do that? Oh, by process payments, our point of sale system. Oh, I like that. So now what should I do? Next is the button, the call to action. Okay, schedule a consultation, learn more, read the article, buy now, order online. Nonprofits, this is the river cleanup that I showed you before. They've got a couple of nice calls to action, share photos and donate. What is it you're trying to accomplish with this? So that's your headline. Again, what do you want the reader to stop and see first? Okay, and in this case, the nonprofit organization, still, why should they care? So this is someone who showed up. I'll pretend I'm Nicole. I showed up last week to clean up the banks of the Blackwater River. They're sending me a thank you and asking me if I would share my pictures on a Facebook page. Well, sure. And I would click share photos and videos, and I might go back and click donate now or donate today. So they have told me exactly how to get involved. All right, all you nonprofits out there, take a quick screenshot of this. It can be that straightforward. I don't mean to say that it's simple, because you have to learn how to put things in there, but it's not as difficult as, or as maybe intimidating. I don't want to say difficult, as intimidating as some of you might have been led to believe. So if you've heard the term curate content, you are in a good spot. If you haven't, that's okay, because I'm going to explain it to you. Curating content is something that you do to get some stuff in your arsenal of tools. I'm going to show you these while I'm talking, that allows you to have information to post. So for example, if I were curating content for a healthcare agency, and I went to Constant Contact Partners with Feedly, and I went to feedly.com, and I typed in quality of life, or activities of daily living, or caregiver relief. That source is one that can give you stories and information and data and things that you can use later on. So you can kind of collect these things. And I just set up a series of folders on my desktop. I have the month, and then I have images, and then I have posts, and I have an editorial calendar. So how to curate content. You also can use content that's been published by someone else and republish it, or retweet it, or share it under your brand. Be sure when you share something like that, though, not only that you give credit, obviously, but that you tell us why you're sharing it. There's nothing more kind of disheartening than for an organization that I really, really like well to share something with no comment, no commentary, no reason why they thought it was important to have that shared. So tell us why. And this is where you can get content easily, more easily than writing it yourself. And as long as it's on brand and it works with what your business, your organization's doing, then go ahead and use that. Give credit. If you borrow somebody's meme, by George, give them credit for that. I don't want to see all with the police, the copyright police. All right, so we've seen a little bit of a formula for how to make a nice 3-part email, but your subject line is going to be the most important part of your email. I love this. You have 100 milliseconds to form an impression, and the length should be 4 to 7 words. Oh, you know what? I have a blog on headlines. I might send that to you. Here we go. All right. So how do you craft a subject line? Before people can open it, they have to at least have an idea of what's in it. And that's called the subject line. So as much as I would love to tell you, here's exactly how you do it, I really can't. But let's talk about the things that you want to consider, which are your content. And I often write my subject line last because I'm not really sure what I want to call it. So I might write that last. I will always use keywords or phrases. If I'm doing a Google workshop, it'll say Google and it will say workshop. Or if I'm doing a Facebook Live, it'll say Facebook, it'll say live. I focus on the benefit or why should they care and how can it help in the subject line. So you have a subject line and a pre-header. You'll have a headline and a pre-header. So you have 2 places to really craft something. Here's an idea. Some ideas are make them laugh. Okay, distinctive landscaping, I love. Calm down, Mother Nature. The snow isn't going to slow us down. You can use numbers. 5 tips. People love numbered lists. 5 tips, the 3 best, the 5 newest, the 6 fastest. You can always ask questions as a way of opening up people's. So you can see the headline here, are your investments working? And then the subhead, which you're going to add to your email, 3 questions to ask to maximize. Now you're not going to get to do this with Google Gmail. I got to tell you, if you're just going to use Google Gmail to send out your emails, that's not going to work nearly as well or nearly as long because you're going to be tagged as a spammer in a lot of ways if you're trying to email your customers through Google. So not that I don't love Google, just not that. Here again, here's a nonprofit tugging at the heartstrings. Take 5 minutes, $10 can help us save more animals. And then always a sense of urgency. People don't want to miss out. FOMO is fear of missing out. So last chance, y'all got one of these this morning. And I know 10 of y'all just signed right up because it said last chance and you believed me and it was. We actually opened registration for more than 100. We had it to close, but thanks to everyone who's here. So you can make them laugh. Don't forget that when someone opens their emails on their phone or on their computer, they want to see exactly what you have to say right now, or they're not even going to open it. So my preschooler this week, let's look at the one right in the middle here. Your 2-year-old normal ? Or gifted ? Boy, if I had a 2-year-old, I would probably be jumping on that and opening it right up to see that. Oh, thanks. They like that one too. Oh my, we are getting there. How are we doing on time? Oh, perfect. Okay. So let's talk about, sorry, I blew by that, more tips for writing successful emails. Okay, so we're back to writing. We've got our subject line. We know we've got keywords and phrases. We know we're trying to convince them how and why they should care. But let's talk about getting personal. So when you're going to send an email to an audience, that audience wants to feel like you know something about them, and that comes through as relevance, okay? So if your information is not relevant to me in the time and place that I receive it, I'm not going to open it. And this is why you want it to be targeted. I get the question a lot, what's MailChimp versus Constant Contact? And I'll tell you, I have a new client who uses MailChimp, and I had to use it. And I'll tell you the number one thing that I disliked was they don't allow you to segment your audiences. And we talked about this last week, that if you have 1,000 people in your database, not all 1,000 people want to receive the same messaging from you. So the Mug Club versus everybody who's opted in versus everybody who's ever ordered online for our restaurant, we have those people segmented so we can send them targeted information. Mug Club beer launches, much more relevant to Mug Club members than our general followers. Forget about the e-blast mentality. I mean, that sounds so invasive. And, it's really not. It's just a quick note to say hi. Think about when you write to people and writing to someone. And I tend to be really conversational in my writing, like, hey, I'm glad to see you today. Here's what's on the agenda. But if you are actually having that personal conversation, then it won't feel like an e-blast. It will feel like you talking and me listening or me reading. And words like you and your, big sellers, big sellers. Probably the only biggest thing is free. We know that. And show your personality. If you speak with contractions, I don't know anyone who does not, and you can write like that in your emails. Go ahead. Show the personality of you, show the personality of your business, stay true to your brand, but really think of these emails as if back in the day you were to call someone and say, hey, I just want to leave a message letting you know that sidewalk sales are next week through the 24th through the 27th. And if you stop by our store, we'll give you a 10% coupon. Thanks, bye. And that's all it has to be. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. Questions can become email content. I like this. So questions, we already kind of covered that, where you just ask people questions and you can poll them or they can click on a button. Here's some words, because we're talking about writing now, okay? So we're talking about writing. And these are some words, we just popped up a bunch of them, that can trigger a response in people. And I'll give you a really quick example, and then I've got a couple more slides and then a few more questions I want to take on. But we had the restaurant client who had to close because of a COVID scare. It was not a positive test, but they said, you know what, we're just going to close for 2 weeks anyway. So they were very careful in their messaging, and I sat down with leadership team and we wrote the messaging that we wanted to put out there. We didn't make a big brouhaha. We didn't send an email. We just posted it very quietly on our Facebook page that the location was going to close. But we seeded that message with some of these words. Okay, so we said things like safety and conquer and persevere. But the one thing that we seeded that message with, and please don't think this is unethical, because it wasn't. It was a reach, but it wasn't unethical. I actually had them add in there, we are grateful for all of the support we've received so far and appreciate your understanding. Okay, technically, no one had known about it and provided support for them, but marketingly, they had a 22,000 reach on that email, and they had one not positive comment, which was, what day was that? But we used these words to encourage people. We weren't like, oh my goodness, we're closed down again. We're like, nope, we're doing this. We're going to do it now. We're doing it for staff. We're doing it for you. We're going to do it for, and it was very upbeat. And I personally never had a post go 22,000 viral with over 800 comments. So transparency and honesty and conversation will go a long way in helping you. Always be testing. Now, it's actually what they're showing as an example of A/B testing. And A/B testing means that, particularly within the Constant Contact platform, you can send a message with 2 subject lines. So you can send 25% of people one subject line and 75% another. So why would you want to do that? Well, it's about evaluating. And I always talk about evaluation when it gets down to the wire, but it's so important that you know why people are doing what they're doing. Here, I would say that the B, 5 reasons to schedule your project now, would get more openings than A, calm down Mother Nature, strictly because 5 reasons is actually something. Calm down is just an exclamation. It's just hyperbole. It doesn't ask a question either. Remember, we said use numbers, ask questions, try humor. 5 reasons that'll get you open. And this is from a landscaping company who's probably, you know, wanting to get people to start scheduling projects in advance. So I'm pretty sure the 5 reasons would be better, but this allows you to test, and then they will show you the results of which one had a better open rate. And that's what this is all about, is our open rate, right? No, it's not, but that's a really good thing. It's a nice thing to measure, and it's very rewarding, just like on the commercial. All right, it's time to recap. Wow, this has been great, you guys. I really appreciate you hanging in. I know how I went so quickly, so we'll have time for questions. So recapping, we have a variety of types of emails. Don't forget, we have informational, we have event. What else can we name? We had donations, we had how-tos, we had creating a dialogue, we had behind the scenes. Don't remember that one, right? Behind the scenes. And we had sharing news, and then the actual big old newsletter, automated emails. There's just so many kinds of email types that you can consider in your strategy. Just remember, it doesn't have to be a huge, long thing. We can keep it fairly short. And then remember those 3 questions to write these for your folks. You know, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, and what's in it for me? No, sorry. One is, you know, what's it good for? What do I need to get your attention? Number 2 is what's the benefit? And number 3 is how do I take part in that? How do I actually do it? So what are you offering? What's the benefit? And how do I get it? And that's what we're going to want to ask or to tell people in our emails. And then finally 3 is, as we said, get really personal, but really send some targeted and relevant information. Don't try to blast this out to the entire world when you're selling a very specific niche audience, or you're gathering donations for a specific niche organization or group. You don't need to go after the entire world. You need to segment, and you need to determine who the people are who are most likely to need your service or your business, or find your service or business, keeping them at top of mind. So these are the things. I've been a Constant Contact partner for over a year now. And I have to tell you, several of these didn't exist a year ago. And I'm really pleased with Constant Contact's, evidently in the flight path, Constant Contact's efforts in response to COVID-19. They have just, maybe some of them were on the burner, but they have just cranked out a ton of small business tools within what used to be an email platform. So yes, they still have emails, and you know, we talked about all the different emails and events that are in there, but now you can build a website. If your business doesn't have a website and it needs a website, you know, Wix is fine, WordPress is king. But if you don't have the money or the experience to do those, trust me, Constant Contacts is much easier. I've worked terribly in all of those, and I find this much easier to move around in. You also can have shoppable landing pages on your website, or a page where people can go. They can order your products. They can pay for them online, as you can integrate Constant Contact with, oh my gosh, I know WooCommerce, I know PayPal, and there probably will be adding more pretty much every day. So shoppable landing pages, there's a forms function now. You can generate inline and universal code for a subscriber or pop-up form for both your website and your Facebook page. And then the social ads management, this is so new. It used to be that if you send an email through Constant Contact, you could share it to your social. So not only did your email go out to your fans, and then there's a repeat of resend to non-openers, so I would send it out twice. I would publish that same email content with 3 different headers and 3 different images across the next 7 or 8 days, or maybe even longer, depending on what it was. But for an event, for example, I would have Constant Contact post it for me on social media. And I post to Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, I think they give us all of those, but I'm pretty sure that they have other choices. Instagram, I think I've seen Pinterest. But not only can you do this, you can run ads now. And if anyone out there has ever wanted to run a Google ad, oh my gosh, does it seem horribly complicated? A couple weeks ago, I did a workshop for Constant Contact, just like this, on Google Ads through Constant Contact. And I was amazed. I was amazed to see this integration, because Google doesn't share with just anybody. And to see that they've allowed Constant Contact to actually access their platform, not only access their platform, but assist these customers with some wonderfully automated, just not so dang hard as it used to be, functions for running Google Ads. So a decent idea, Constant Contact, way to go. Logo creator and also score partners with Deluxe Corp. Deluxe like the checks, Deluxe. They have a logo generator on their website, and you can play with that thing for hours and get a $39 logo if you don't have one. And then, like I mentioned, e-commerce. So being able to have things shoppable, have them be, they print out labels for delivery, they keep track of your inventory. Just a ton of things that Constant Contact's got now for you in place. And I am a partner. I do have a special link for you that I think will show up at the end here. I'm going to go a couple more slides. But if you have any questions about that, just let me know. All right, John, I have a few more questions here on my list if it's time.
I have to unmute myself. Sorry about that. We did have two questions come in during the last half. The first one, for curated content, can I post an entire article with attribution, in parentheses, and add my comments?
Oh, good question. And thank you for asking, for heaven's sakes. Typically, if you give full credit, you're in better shape than if you don't. And now, so you see that's kind of a hedgy answer, because someone's work, whether it's written or drawn or painted, immediately becomes copyright upon them completing that work. So my best practices thought immediately goes to, perhaps you could either comment or message that person, the author of that particular piece of content, and ask them if they would mind if you shared it. That may not be a bad thing, because then if they have content that you're sharing for them, there's a potential for them to share content for you. So I would ask, I would try to ask, I think as long as you're giving attribution, like I said, you won't get in as much trouble, but everybody's kind of sensitive about their stuff, as they should be. And I would just, if it's pretty straightforward and you can just comment. I'll give you an example. I was writing a blog on women playing golf. I have a golf cart client. And I went to a PGA show, and there was this woman there that just amazed me. She was an amputee. She was a golf teacher. She was teacher of the year for the PGA, and she had a golf school. But she had a story on the news channel, the regional news channel. And I went and I texted her or messaged her, and I said, hey, I really love that story. Can I quote you in my blog article that I'm going to do and give you credit for the quote? And she said, absolutely. And then she put a link to my story on her website. So that's one way to do it, and it's not a bad idea to ask, I think, and then right along with that, I know I'm throwing around these terms. I see this other question here. I'm throwing around these terms, blog and email newsletter. And here's the difference. An email newsletter, blast, whatever you want to call it, is generated through Constant Contact and sent directly through an email channel to your followers' inbox. So you must have email addresses in order to send an email. A blog can be called a story, a page. And remember the old days we wrote news releases? It's just a story. Blog sounds, it's such an intimidating name. I don't even like the name, but a blog is roughly 300 to 700 word story. And I know that sounds long, but remember, you can talk, you can speak and write like you speak. 300 to 700 words that has keywords in it. Keywords being words that relate to, and this is one of my questions too, is keywords. Keywords are words that relate to the search terms that someone would type into Google to find your business or service. So keywords are those words we type in, like food near me, or golf in Harbor Springs, or Asics size 10 women's pickleball shoes. The trick to getting Google to find you, another question, Mount Google, I love that. I always call it the Google, is to get those words that people are searching for on your website, so you can get them to come to your website. That's what a blog is helpful for, because the more of those words and phrases that appear on your website that are part of valid, educational, informational, non-spammy content, meaning story, a blog story, and that is the #1 best way to get Google, Mount Google now, to find you. All right, so that is the #1 way right now, besides advertising though, is just increasing the content on your website to include stories about your services, your products, the keywords and the buzzwords that people will be using as they are searching for those services or products. Does that help?
I think so. How about, what's your best strategy for growing an email list?
Oh, you're gonna make me talk about spamming. My best strategy is to only use emails of people who have some idea of who in the holy world you are. And that could be a business association, it could be a fraternal association, it could be a relationship association, it could be a vendor client. But do not go on LinkedIn and scarf a bunch of people's emails because you think they look like hot prospects. Here's what will happen, and it will happen with Google, it will happen with MailChimp, it will happen with Constant Contact, and this answers the should I buy a list question too. You're gonna get in trouble. That's the only way to say it, and the trouble is based on, you know, how you interpret that. But here's what will happen. So let's say that you download a list, you have a list from a place you worked 2 or 3 years back in a little bit different industry, but you know, not too far off, but they weren't your customers, they were the business's customers, but you got their list and you're going to upload and you're going to send your email content to a couple hundred of them. They're going to get that and they're going to go, I have no idea who this person is. And they're going to click spam. And if you get clicked spam enough times, they're not going to deliver your emails anymore. I mean, Google is going to go, sorry, you're not allowed to be on Gmail because you're a big fat spammer. So you don't want to do that. Buying email addresses, you know, I don't know anyone who ever has. I know lots of people who have bought email or bought USPO lists, post office addresses lists, but I've never heard of a good reason or a good activity buying an email list. I don't recommend it. So you can get started by creating a form that's on your website that says join our email list. And on that form, you want to collect obviously at least one thing, which is email, your person's email. But you also might want to consider using the Constant Contact connections, the contacts, the actual where you upload your databases of emails. You can use this as a customer relationship management tool by including as much data on every client as you can. And you should structure that Excel spreadsheet and that database as first name, last name, email, and if you can get it, phone number, because we will be texting people advertising before too long. Get as much as you can. If it's the right time to get more information on them, like today we're doing this under SCORE umbrella, so SCORE asks us to gather a lot more information, including some demographics information. All of those questions are generated through my event registration form on Constant Contact. You can use friends on your email list. You never know who, who's going to give you a referral. You could download your Gmail email contacts. So you can go into Gmail and it will let you export a list of all of your contacts. And you might have other email platforms that do that. You could, at a networking event or a virtual networking event, ask people, can I have your email so I can put you on my distribution list? Or can I put you on my mailing list for the next event coming up? You may do that. You may not set out a fishbowl and collect 150 cards of unsuspecting people and then put them in your database and send to them. You also are probably not going to be well liked if you take like your BMI group. I don't know if that's what it's called, BNI. Any professional organizations that have private member directories, I'd be really, really careful with that. I don't think I would be using that. I think that would get us considered spammers. So I got formulas, we got eye-catching keywords. Effective marketing plan, the most effective marketing plan. Well, that would include planning, strategy, and implementation and evaluation. I have a blog and a 5-step marketing strategy ebook that I will send you guys a link to. Basically, it just outlines 5 steps for really building a marketing plan for anything in a pretty short manner. It talks about the original goal and the objective and how it must be a measurable objective. So it has to be some way I have to know if it worked or not. If my objective is to sell 300 widgets, that makes sense. If my objective is to sell more widgets, I don't know when I've made it. So make sure there's a measurable objective. Then you do some research and you find out, who's my target audience for this? Where are they? Do they need my product or do they want my product? What's different about me? What's different about what I have to offer or what I do? And then you move into the messaging point where you start to think about what are the words I want to say and what are the images that I want to use? What pictures do I have? What do I have to go get? What do I need to write for this project? It could be, you can do a marketing plan for one event. I basically do one in my head every time I have one of these events. After that, of course, is implementation, and there's where you're choosing your channels and the tools and the tactics that you're going to use. If it's going to be a weekly email marketing and you hope to gain 5 new donations a month, let's say. 5 new, meaning, not your existing clients. So then the last part of that after the implementation that so many people never go back and give any love to is the evaluation. And you evaluate the effectiveness by your marketing using various tools like Google Analytics, Facebook Insights, Twitter has insights, LinkedIn has insights. I'm trying to think, I think Constant Contact even has insights. Well, they tell you how many opens, how long people were there, what pages they clicked on. That's how us marketers figure out what's coming next. It's down to a little bit of science, really. It's contributing to more successful and more streamlined marketing, but you have to make sense of the analytics and of the data, and that's where a lot of us don't really want to look at it. But it's so helpful. Get to know your website, get Google Analytics. If you don't have them hooked up to your website, get them hooked up to your website. I mean, I just can't stress how helpful that will be. Another way to get Google to find you is to make sure that you have a Google My Business page. All right, it is a free page. We're not talking about Google advertising. This is an absolutely free page from Google. And if you have a fairly popular business and you haven't created a Google My Business page and enough people have searched for your business, they've made one for you. How does that make you feel? So you might have a Google My Business page and not know it. The way you do that is just search for your business name and plus Google. And if you find it and it says, do you own this business? You go through a couple of steps to claim it. So you would need to click claim this business, and they would then either call your business line or they'll send you a business postcard in the mail. Not my favorite option. I much prefer calling or texting. And once your page is verified, you can post things on it like pictures and stories and memes and calls to action and links to your newsletters, and it becomes basically just another Facebook.
Hey, Cheri?
Yep.
So that we stay consistent on the topic, on the Google My Business page, how do you connect that to a person's actual page and website?
The Google My Business page has to be claimed by the business. Once it's claimed, in the info sections, just like you would have on Facebook, you'll be allowed to put links to your website. You can have online ordering links, you can have menu links, and then you can add posts whenever you want. You can add photos, a cover image, your logo. They've got some COVID templates. You'd set up all your hours and your services. So that all goes into the basic setup of the page. But the good news is you can do some of that while you are waiting for the verifications.
Thanks, that answers it, I believe. I don't have any additional questions. Have you made it through the list that was submitted as people registered?
Well, I have one here that I want to unpack and see if I can help. It's not exactly on this topic, but there's marketing questions and we can all learn, right? So I have a couple that are I know Peggy was online earlier and she's asking about best practices for B2B marketing and prospecting emails for fitness and wellness services. Yes, you need to establish an email database, and that's gonna be a challenge if you are not in the industry. Well, even if you're in the industry right now, because we're not really doing a lot of face-to-face together. But what I might start with for you would be to get a pop-up or an inline form on your website that says, sign up for my newsletter or sign up for our news or learn more. It doesn't even have to be newsletter. You don't have to say that. You can just say, keep in touch with us, for example. And then the more you get people to join that list, the more people you will have to email things to. And you can lead them in with stories, fitness, wellness stories, like I was talking about through Feedly, curating content. I like to use a lot of expert content, so I might look at the Occupational Therapy Association or the Physical Therapy Associations. I know AARP is very active in fitness and wellness. So I might try, engaging on LinkedIn by not just sharing those types of articles, but by actually writing in the post. Remember, we talked about relevancy and why it's important to you. But finding information about fitness and wellness from respected authors and sources, sharing that through your website or your LinkedIn, and then writing a little bit about why you're sharing it. I mean, why did you decide to click share here? I'd like to know. I really would. I'm sharing this because I really appreciate, and that lets the author know that you actually read it too, and people looking at it, that you actually read it. So that's kind of helpful for your credibility that says, I know a little bit about this and I am sharing it for a reason, and here's that reason. So that's kind of helpful for B2B. I do like LinkedIn for B2B. Don't spam people. You can approach people that meet your target demographics. You can sort and search. Send them a message asking them, do not ever just click connect. Send them a message that says, hey, I found you on LinkedIn. We're both in the fitness wellness industry. I'd like to connect and share updates with you. And if they connect, then I'll go, hey, thanks, here's a link to my blah, 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 whatever it is, my blog, my website, my event that's coming up. So it's kind of a two-step prospecting. I do have one client using LinkedIn Salesforce, I think it is, and he's kind of doing the same thing, cold prospecting. He's not seeing a lot of action with it. So B2B, improve visits for a nonprofit facility tour. Jim, I wish I knew more about this. How can I improve visits for nonprofit facility tours? Right now, I'm not sure you can. I don't know exactly where you're located. I don't have that in front of me right now, but I would do virtual tours. I honestly would. I would get somebody with a decent iPhone 10 or 11, and I would do some virtual tours of what you want people to see, and I would get them hosted on my website or on a YouTube channel, and then I would use an email to all of my constituents to say, hey, go look at this virtual tour, and by the way, while you're here, click here to donate. All right, so I'm not sure what the objective is on visits for a nonprofit facility tours. I'm not sure what kind of a nonprofit facility it is, but right now I'm leaning heavily toward virtual. You know, I have a client who built a new piece of physical therapy equipment, and he hasn't been able to go on the road with it, so we've been doing little virtual demos, and he brings the dog in and weighs it once a week because it has a scale. And it's been a lot of fun for him. It's not a hard sell. People don't have to show up to see the machine in action, just like this facility tour. Yeah, Jim, if you want to reach out to me afterwards, you can certainly do that. My email's on the end of this. Catherine, how does one get started? Well, I would try Constant Contact. And I'll tell you what, you guys, if you if you type that link in, they will give you not only the free trial, then you don't have to pay anything at all, but there will be an email and a phone call and another email and then another email from one of our customer service agents who wants to help you set up your email. Go figure. Yes, that's part of this partner thing that I get to do, is that they will take care of you and get you started so that you don't just get this thing and leave it sit there. But, you know, I would say try it. Just try it. Even if you only try one email and you send it to 50 people, but you put a call to action in there, you know, it says call now, or, you know, click to buy. And if it works, then do it again. Do it again, do it again, do it again. Diane has a question: how to entice the reader to order drawings from their photos. Oh, so you're converting photos to drawing. Oh, before and after pictures, absolutely. Before and after pictures, testimonials. I'd be right up front with pricing. I'd maybe put together some pandemic packages where, you know, we can do this, this, and this for this price, or this, this, and this, and this for just a little bit more. So, you know, maybe a collage type. I think all of those would fly well right now. I really do. Violet, hi Violet, how to write an email to a store to put my product on their shelf. Oh, that's an interesting one. So you're promoting your products to businesses. So in that situation, that email has to be persuasive. So it has to remember the things we talked about. It's got to have a catch to it. What's it for? What's the benefit, or what's it going to do for me? And how do I actually get a hold of it and do it? So that's going to be tough. You're going to need to get the emails of the buyers in each of these stores, and you can probably do that simply by calling them. I would think they would share, but you'll need to get those emails and those people's names, and then start with who you have. You know, there's nothing that says you can't copy and send an email that you sent on day one out 6 months later, because you don't know that anyone read it on day one. So let's run it again. But yeah, Violet, the language is something you could work with with your SCORE mentor, who I happen to know. But I think using this as a tool, your biggest challenge, and often the biggest challenge, is the data collection and getting those emails into some sort of a data spreadsheet. I think that's about it. I mean, there's a what's the most effective marketing plan? That's a whole different hour-long webinar, but I'll send that five-step marketing strategy link along when I get the recording of this webinar. And that, if there are no further questions, is that.
Cheri, I believe we've answered all the questions. There was some good dialogue in the chat box going back and forth about people's experiences with mail lists.
Oh, yay.
Not a good
With buying lists.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we are recording this, and in the next day or so, you'll get an email with a link to the recording. Cheri said she's also going to provide a link to one of her previous webinars, which you can look at. And there will also be a couple website links for the free Constant Contact trial, as well as I believe there was a link that we were going to provide on some templates and some materials from Constant Contact to help people with their emails. Is there anything else, Cheri, that you'd like to add?
No, I just was looking in the messages and how to connect the Google page to the actual page and website. I wanted to point one more thing out there. I want to make sure that I'm using the right language, because the Google page could be the Google Analytics. And I did want to pull this question out because I see Betsy's still here. Your website is connected to Google Analytics, and that requires a piece of code that you generate through your Google Analytics account. And then your webmaster will just paste it into your website. And if you're doing your own website, it's not as difficult as it sounds because it's automatically generated. But you would need to actually have a Google account, a Google My Business page, and a Google Analytics page tied to your website. So I just want to make sure if I was maybe interpreting that incorrectly, the Google page versus my website versus so many things. So the process is you get a Google My Business page. If you have to claim it, you claim it. You check your website. If you don't, excuse me, if you don't have Google Analytics attached to that, then you open a Google Analytics account, which is still part of Google. It's just one more tool. And then you get the code from that and you paste it on your website. And that's how you get Google to track your website activities. Does that help?
It looks like Betsy replied back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to have her email me on Wednesday because I am not going to have good internet tomorrow either, but I will be back in the land of the wild on Wednesdays. So I can log on with you and just take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay?
All right,
That's
Cheri,
all
I
I
think that's a
have.
wrap.
All right. Well, I really appreciate everyone being here. And a shout out to Cindy Schraben, one of our other mentors from SCORE, who is hiding out in the background, just kind of testing the waters, seeing whether she'd like to do one of these. Now you know how it looks. So, all right, everyone. Thank you. Come back next week.